All right, for this special brief, we're taking a look back at a 10-year mission that has completely reshaped our technology and really set us on a totally new path for the future. 10 years. Think about that. A decade ago, an effort kicked off that promised to fundamentally alter, well, pretty much everything. 10 years might not sound like a long time, but in the world of technology, it's basically an entire era. And that quote really gets to the heart of it. From the very beginning, this was never about small, incremental steps. No, this was a massive bet, a total moonshot, aimed at building what we call artificial general intelligence, or AGI. So let's rewind and start at the beginning. So our story kicks off, like a lot of great ones do, with the odds stacked against it. The early days were all about this powerful, maybe not entirely rational sense of optimism. Yeah, forget about some giant corporate lab. This whole thing began with, and I'm quoting here, 15 nerds sitting around trying to figure out how to make progress. Can you even picture that? Just this tiny team with an idea that could literally change the world. This right here, this really paints a picture of that early culture. You had a team driven by this deep belief that what they were doing was vital, even when almost everyone on the outside thought it was fringe or just plain nuts. They were focused, they were happy, and their optimism was completely unreasonable, which, it turns out, was the secret ingredient. And by 2017, that optimism started to look a lot less crazy. They had 3 huge breakthroughs. First, they totally pushed the limits of reinforcement learning, that's basically teaching an AI by trial and error, in super complex games. Second, they built a language model that could actually get the meaning of words, the semantics, not just the grammar. And third, they figured out a basic way to start aligning AI with what humans actually want. These weren't just small victories. This was solid proof they were on the right path. The next step was obvious. It was time to scale up. Big time.
Okay, so let's jump ahead. How did this quiet little lab project suddenly explode into a global phenomenon that, many of us use every single day?
I mean, just look at this. The shift is staggering. Before tools like ChatGPT and GPT-4 came along, AGI was this abstract sci-fi idea. And then, almost overnight, it became the topic of conversation everywhere. In boardrooms, in schools, around the dinner table, the whole perception just flipped. So how on earth did that happen so fast? Well, the answer comes down to this core strategy that pretty much broke all the old rules. Iterative deployment. Instead of hiding away for years trying to perfect something, the idea was to get it out into the world early and often, and let it grow up in public. Now, this was a super controversial move at the time, but today it's basically the industry standard. The logic was simple. Let society and the technology evolve together. By putting these tools in our hands, we could all start to understand them, adapt to them, and figure out how to handle the challenges as they popped up. It was a massive real-time experiment. And that brings us to today. The first decade laid all the groundwork. But if we look at the trajectory so far, what does that tell us about the next 10 years? This is the question on everyone's mind now. I mean, given the insane pace of progress, what can we realistically expect by the time this mission hits its 20-year mark? The prediction is, well, it's one word: superintelligence. We're not just talking about AI that's as smart as a human. We're talking about something far, far beyond that. And the belief is that building it in the next decade isn't just possible, it's almost certain. So, what would a world with superintelligence actually be like? It's a future that, let's be honest, is pretty hard for us to even wrap our heads around right now. And maybe that's the absolute best way to describe it. Weird. It'll probably be this strange mashup of things that feel totally familiar and things that are completely alien. A future where some things have changed profoundly and others haven't changed at all. Let's break that down a bit. The thinking is that our core human stuff, our relationships, what we value, our focus on each other, that's all going to stay central. We're not going to suddenly care more about machines than we do about people. But, and this is the huge part, the things we'll be able to do, our capabilities, will be just extraordinary. We'll be able to do things we can't even properly imagine today. And that really leaves us with this final thought. A decade ago, this whole mission was a wild long shot. Today, its path is pointing toward a future with unimaginable human capability. So the question isn't really if this future is coming anymore. The real question is, what are we going to do with it when it gets here?